We love horror movies from the 70s and 80s, and we watch them for 2 days straight, and then we go write a book. Now we're looking back at every title, one at a time, in this podcast that we put out monthly. Once we've had an episode for every movie, it's time to meet up for another Shock Marathon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a historic episode of the ShockMarathons podcast. I'm Matt Farley here with Tom.
Hello.
And Charlie.
Hello.
And we are all three of us together for the first time in the history of the podcast. Wow.
Yeah. It's great. No, it's great.
It's very exciting.
We're uncomfortably close to each other, too, due to the lack of extra microphones. But hey.
I tried to take a little bit of video for behind the scenes. It was not that exciting, but
well, to us maybe not because we're here, but to the listeners out there, they want to know. And
that's true.
They're gonna find out when they see this picture. Check it out at ShockMarathons.com, perhaps.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might work.
We're gonna talk. We've talked about this movie in passing many times. This is Final Exam, which just up there on the Mount Rushmore of horror movies, huh, guys?
Yeah.
Pantheon.
A lot of things, at least in our conversations, a lot of things get compared back to Final Exam.
If I had enough money, I would commission a giant rock to be shaped into the face of Radish.
Yeah. It's got so many things right.
So it starts off at midnight in March College. We're told that on the it's superimposed on the screen, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a few lovers in a car. Girl does not want to get intimate.
Just two, not a few.
That's true. a guy and a girl in a car. She's not into it. She doesn't need a reason. In fact, that's what she says. I don't need to have a reason. Maybe she just wants to watch the ducks swim a while.
Right.
And he's like, "Come on, honey." You know? He's really pushy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's uncomfortable though, because she's
very up and down.
Yeah, she's all over the place. Like she like seems interested, and he's like, okay, let's get into it. And then she's like, oh, wait a minute, no, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
She's a bit of a tease.
It's very confusing.
The guy laughs, and he says that ducks don't swim at night because they don't have headlights.
Oh.
Right. You're laughing as if it's not true.
She's still resistant. He gets a little bit mad, expressing that they can't afford a motel room because he spent all his money on beer. Well, first he says, I spent all my money, and then she points out on beer.
Yeah, but she was more than happy to drink her half.
Which is what he says.
Mm-hmm.
What? Wow.
You're thrown right into a whirlwind of bad jokes and past fights and hurt feelings and a lot of stuff going on really quickly, and I like that.
So then she declares her love for him, and he ignores it.
Yeah.
This is like a Meatloaf situation here.
Yeah, exactly. It really kind of comes out of nowhere. Like you think they might not even really like each other. And she's like, "Oh, I love you."
I don't like either one of them. Do you love me? She asks again. He says, "Well, I'm out with you." a little bit non-committal. And he finally agrees that he loves her. And so they go into the back seat. And now we see someone's outside the car. And the person outside the car pushes the car.
Mm-hmm.
Then a dead body drops on the windshield. Where does that body come from? We don't know.
No, that's a little confusing. And at first, he thinks it's one of the guys from his frat or football, whatever it is.
But you'll come to see that this killer has a proclivity for trees.
That's true.
Yeah, and that might factor in.
And then the killer cuts through the convertible roof and stabs the guy. The girl sits and screams in the back seat as we fade out. So we find out later she's dead, I guess, yeah?
I think so, in
Radish's
descriptions,
yeah. Talking.
What's interesting about this opening, too, is you almost get the feeling at one point that it might be like a movie within a movie kind of thing, which we've seen before.
Which we just saw in last episode.
Exactly, yeah. And it doesn't go that direction, which is nice.
A relief.
And it's very unpretentious, and it's non-revisionist. It's just he's seen a few movies, and he's like, at the beginning of the horror movies, there's always like these guy and a girl on the lover's lane.
Yeah.
And then they just like, okay, we'll kind of do that. And
Let's
then
do exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not too.
They're not trying to put their own spin on
smart
it.
for their own good.
Yeah, and that's a good thing.
Sometimes that can be nice.
I agree. So now we're at Lanier?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Lanier College.
Oh, I really want a shirt
Yeah.
of that. Did you think that when you were watching the movie?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe just for us, we'll do a small run.
Yeah. We really need to have that.
And the music is very after-school special.
Mm-hmm.
Which means good.
Yes.
A very uplifting and positive world. Nothing can go wrong.
Took me a long time to learn the name of the main girl, and I still don't remember.
I think it's Courtney.
Courtney, you're
It
absolutely
took
right.
me a long time too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a tough one.
Not well established at all.
But nice opening scenes here. We're talking wide takes, beautiful sunny
Beautiful campus.
campus. They get out a lot of lines together, walking together. The actors playing off one another. It's languorous, I dare say.
It's like the opening to Touch of Evil almost.
Yeah, exactly like that.
So what's her name again? Courtney. She's walking on campus with the boy, the frat guy. Do we know his name?
It could be Greg.
So the frat guys are Wildman and this other guy.
Yeah, it's like Kevin or Eric or
We'll find
Mark.
out.
It's Mark.
Mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the jerky one. He's kind of like spoiled and.
Yeah.
So he needs an 82 on the upcoming chemistry test, or else his parents will stop paying for his car.
Oh my God.
And at one point he says, "I hate chemistry," and then clarifies that chemistry hates me. Right?
Yep.
I hate this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're supposed to hate him, but
Yeah.
I almost hate him too much.
I don't love
I hate him
hating him,
more
yeah.
than the filmmakers wanted me
I
to hate him.
hating him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's his situation. Radish joins in and immediately changes the subject to serial killers. He heard about what happened at March College, and he's giddy about it. He thinks it's a serial killer since there were some students killed in Vermont earlier. Or was it
I
Virginia?
think he said Virginia.
Okay. And then Wildman runs by and knocks the books out of Radish's arms. And everyone thinks it's funny, even Radish. He's just like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Wildman."
Yeah.
Should we note, Charlie, tell us about Wildman.
Well, he is like the ultimate frat guy. You know, he's not a rich or polished frat guy. He is just the boisterous.
Much more likable than this uptight jerk.
Yeah, tackle people, tell, stupid jokes.
How did you know his name was Wildman?
He had his name not only on the back of his jersey, but which he wears all the time, but also on the front,
Yeah.
which is amazing. And
I like that.
yeah, it makes me. We had trouble remembering Mark, Courtney. I can't really remember.
I'll never
Wildman.
forget
I've been
Wildman.
talking
Yeah.
about him for a decade.
I know.
I'll tell you, I remember Radish too, though, because what a name.
Of course, you
Yeah.
remember Radish.
Has anyone ever been named Radish?
No. That's why it's great.
A radish is like a gourd. Is it a gourd?
I don't think it's a gourd, but
It's a vegetable.
It's a vegetable.
I think.
What are gourds? That's for another podcast.
One I do not want to listen to or record.
Please. We'll be all
Welcome
about
to the
gourds.
podcast on gourds. What is a gourd?
So anyway, poor Radish. He's so used to being bullied that it doesn't even faze him. The poor guy.
Yeah.
But you kind of get the feeling, at least from that scene, that he's a little odd, but everyone on campus sort of
They
likes
accept
him
him,
a
yeah,
little bit.
a
Like
little bit.
he's not like picked on
You're right.
specifically.
Yeah.
He's very smart. And here's a part that makes no sense about this right here. They're all walking to the same chemistry test.
Yes.
Why is this frat guy Wildman, taking the same test that
Why is
this
he in a
guy?
rush?
Yeah, well, why is he in the same class that this guy Radish, who apparently is the biggest genius on
Yeah.
campus? It makes no sense that he would be in a class with this Wildman.
They're all in remedial chemistry, you know. Yeah.
There's only 10 people that go to this
Yeah,
school.
that's a good point.
And that is kind of fun too. You know, I guess it's even more cartoony and more small world. All our main characters are always together.
When you think of characters who are obsessed with serial killers, do they have any of the characteristics of Radish? Like, do you buy that guy is a serial killer lover?
Yeah, I think
I'm okay
so.
with it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's similar to Eric Binford in
Fade to Black.
Fade to Black. Yeah,
Okay.
he's similar.
Well, the precedent was set by Fade to Black.
Yeah, so take that farther.
Meanwhile, there's an evil van lurking outside as they all grab their seats for the big exam. The professor insists that they keep an empty seat between them so they can't cheat. Oh, this professor, he has a grand old time kind of taunting or mocking or kind of fooling around with the students, huh?
Yeah, I didn't like his joke here. It's not funny at all when he talks about if anyone gets caught cheating, there are some people trained to snipers trained and stuff. That's
a bit much.
And it's not funny, and the filmmakers want us to think it's funny and to be on his side, and that happens quite a few times in this movie.
That joke, I agree, but I do like
practically flawless movie. But
I like the professor's otherwise. I like his vibe otherwise.
yeah, he gives energy.
He's larger than life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he doesn't care.
Yeah,
He's like, all right, here's your test. I'm out of here. I don't really care what happens.
Yeah.
So the TA is going to report cheaters to a gunman, and that inspires Radish to go on a rant about the gunman in Texas, that like one of his serial killer heroes. But he gets shushed finally, and the test starts happening. So then we follow the professor, and he bumps into Lisa in the hallway. She's a student. They go into his office and discuss their ongoing romantic affair.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentions that he loves the sweet young girls that throw themselves at me. That's what he says before pulling down the shades in his office.
Oh, that's a good line.
For sure. She says that everyone on campus knows about the affair. He doesn't care as long as his red-headed wife doesn't find out. That's his only concern.
Yeah. An odd little touch there.
The red hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, a fine
I guess it adds something.
I like it.
Yeah.
She offers one last rendezvous in the evening. It's his last chance for some firm flesh before she leaves for the big city tomorrow. I love referring to the vague big city.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That's great.
why not make it a specific city?
I don't know, but it fits in with the whole vibe of this place. Like everything is so generic.
So generic.
Like there's talk of like I gotta go help the team do this, you know,
Yeah.
and like they say chemistry at least for the test, but other than that, it's like class.
Even that
you know,
is a pretty
everything is so generic.
Yeah. Wow. But I love that it's the big city, huh, Charlie?
Yeah, it's perfect. That's the simplified nature of this movie. It's pure.
So he suggests that perhaps why don't we have our final roll in the hay right now in my office? Mm-hmm. And she says, "This is final exam week. Pop quizzes just won't do."
Wow.
There's no arguing that.
Awesome.
Meanwhile, the evil van is still lurking on campus.
Then there's a quick cut in the chemistry class of Mark giving Wildman the OK symbol.
Yeah, they're up to no good, these two.
First, it makes you think, are they just, what are they talking about, cheating somehow? What's going on here? But you'll come to find out
boy,
they have more.
Do they have an elaborate plan?
When you really think about these movies, which
we clearly do.
But Wildman got up like first and handed in his test, right?
Yeah.
So whatever Mark has up his sleeve, Wildman is not going to benefit from it. He's just failed because he didn't know what he was doing, right? So
yeah, that makes no sense because he doesn't help his paper, right? He only does his own paper.
It might have happened off camera, maybe during the shenanigans.
Maybe.
I don't think so.
So, but before all that happens, Radish turns his test in first. He's the first one done. Everyone's mad at him for it. And he goes, "I can't help it if I'm brilliant." And Wildman burps and turns his in too, saying, "I can't help it if I'm offensive." Is that what he says?
Yeah, I think something like that.
Something like that.
Not funny, but
Yeah.
it's fun to see the hijinks within the classroom.
Yeah.
So then the Radish passes the coach on campus, and I hadn't noticed this before, but the coach mentions that inventory must be done. And I like that.
Yeah,
That's
they
like
planted the seed.
They planted the seed early. That's
Nice.
really cool.
I love that.
And then some men in masks jump out of the van and start shooting the students with machine guns. In a very realistic scene, the viewer is led to believe that this is actually happening. The music is intense. There is just like an ambush, a terrorist ambush going on campus. And I don't know if it really fits the mood of the movie.
No, it does not.
The mood, the genre, the
Everything.
point in the story, the believability of it,
Out the window.
the tone, yeah, everything. You actually kind of like adjust yourself in your chair, and you want to look
Like,
if you're watching
what
with
is
your
going
friend.
on?
Like,
This
wait,
is what happened.
yeah,
Turns out it's a prank. Now, I don't like when the music, the soundtrack acts as if this is really happening and it's terrifying, but that's cheat. I feel like it's cheating somehow. It's like that's not fair. I don't know what the soundtrack should have been, but when it has that dramatic music, it's like, come on, guys. All right. Anyway, so it's the point of this fake terrorist raid. So not only do they have fake terrorists shooting blanks, they also have fake victims falling down with blood spatter.
yeah. I mean, either you believe that they're shooting like paintballs at them, or that they had squibs rigged
Yes.
in all their shirts to
Yes.
explode, all synchronous with the action of the assailants, and then all ready to be dragged off in the van with their bodies.
What a well orchestrated prank. My
and
goodness.
overly complicated. All you needed to do is set off like a firework or something.
Yeah. This is
Run around naked in the quad, or
This is all so that Mark can cheat on his test.
yeah. Well,
This is why they're doing it as a diversion technique.
so he can still have his car.
Well, a guy's got to have his car. So what does he do? So during the terrorist raid, everyone's distracted. He goes to his test and just grades it.
Right. Yeah.
It makes almost
Okay.
no sense. What
So-
did how did he get the correct answers?
No, he
thanks
He
to
doesn't.
the-
He just grades it as if he were
Oh,
the
he
TA.
grades
Okay,
it.
so now the
right.
TA is going to collect all the tests
Yeah.
and look at marks and say, well, I guess I already graded this one.
That's exactly right.
That's the plan?
Yeah.
And potentially, just for the sake of argument, maybe he did the same thing for Wildman's. So the TA is going to collect those tests and say, well, I guess I unconsciously graded Wildman and Mark. This must be accurate.
It's just, yeah, it's terrible.
Wow.
They could have just as easily had the prank going off. The TA could have had like an answer sheet behind the desk. He runs over, flips open the page.
Yeah, that would make perfect sense. But no, he just used he could have used a red marker on his desk.
Yeah.
While he's taking the test, he could have just pulled out a red pen, graded it 82, and then put it in the pile.
That's a very good
No
point.
terrorist raid necessary.
Yeah.
Wow.
So much elaborate planning with the terrorist raid, yet they neglected to just borrow someone else's car. The only thing that was identifiable is your license plate, and maybe
Yeah.
like if you have distinctive marks on the car, and they have both.
Yes. Well, now look. The raid is still going on. The people in the van collect the dead bodies and then drive off. Radish. This is the moment he's been waiting for. He gets to the phone. Operator, this is an emergency. Give me the sheriff. There's been a multiple shooting on the college quadrangle. You gotta get here. It's happening. The psychopaths are here. I am not doing it justice in my delivery.
Classic line. He is high energy. Every time he's on screen, you're just amazed.
Yeah, what a character. This guy was just born to play this role.
Yeah.
He is you can't define it. You can't imitate it. it is just pure Radish.
Pure Joel S. Rice. It's a great role too. I mean, he's an awesome actor.
It's a good character with a lot of specific details.
Yeah, that he's interested in these things, and that he's the guy who has to make the calls and kind of stand up. And
But he brings it, whatever was
he brings
written,
it to the next level.
He doubles the quality of it just by being himself.
Mm-hmm.
They should use that quote in the next when they put it out on Blu-ray again. ShockMarathons podcast. So meanwhile, he calls in, and so now we're in the calf. The next thing we know, we're in the calf. They're enjoying a meal. Mark, who cheated on the test, gets really mad at Gary, the pledge, and Gary's girlfriend is worried about him, and it's just like everyone seems to be friends with each other on campus. Like everyone knows each other, and I kind of like that.
That's great
because they're kind of like groups of people who you wouldn't think they would hang out that much.
Yeah, they just all go to the same lunch table.
Yeah,
It's normal.
Courtney
and
and Gary and Gary's girlfriend, whose name I'll see later in my notes. But
Janet, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds.
Janet,
she's kind of a dim-witted. A boy crazy girl.
And Gary also has his name on his shirt, which is nice.
Which is, look, it's not easy to keep track of characters when you're watching a movie. If they have their names on their shirt, much easier when you're taking notes. Gary and Wildman. So now he wants Gary to steal a test from a professor's office. This is a different test?
Yeah, because there's another exam
the next
tomorrow.
day. Okay.
That apparently like 3 people are taking because everyone else is gone.
Yeah, the campus is notably unpopulated with humans.
Yep, classic low budget move. Seen in UL2.
Urban Legends 2.
Seen in Dorm That Drip Blood.
Ah, yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
exactly similar thing. This semester ending, and the students who stay behind to clean up or something.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When they're writing the movies, they're like, wait a second, we don't have any actors or extras.
Yep.
Well, have it take place right at the end of the exam week, where most of the campus is like, perfect.
Yep.
So that's brilliant writing right there. All right, so Courtney puts her tray into the is that a dumbwaiter? What do you call that, a dumbwaiter?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, we'll call it a dumbwaiter. Charlie, you're not so sure.
It's got some conveyor belt properties. It's also powered. It's mechanical.
Dumbwaiters can't be powered?
I think it's a hand power.
I'll tell you, these, just a note as podcast listeners, when the three of us are together, we get a little wackier. We fall off, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Let us know, listeners. Send us some feedback. And if they like us in person, then every month we'll just meet up. We'll drive for hours.
Yeah. You get the feeling that when the director went to this location or the producers, whoever, and they saw the dumbwaiter, and they were like,
we could do some.
We are using that. So they're like, we get a little bit in here to foreshadow.
Here's our money shot. Yeah.
Show it how it works, and then we'll see what happens later.
Yeah. And they enjoyed putting the camera, suddenly the point of view goes from the characters to the tray. The tray, suddenly we're following the tray for a little bit.
Yeah.
And we go into the kitchen where a bearded man cleans it off, and then now we're following the man as he takes the trash out, and he passes Courtney. It's pretty well orchestrated.
I like that part.
It's great, yeah.
It is. It's a tour de force.
And there's a red herring there too, right, Tom?
Yeah. When Courtney comes around the corner, she bumps into someone, and it's like it would have to be a suspect for that scene to really make any sense.
Yeah, but in reality, it's just a normal guy near the van that has someone in it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's cool. Yeah.
And
it's a really nice scene. I mean,
it's very well orchestrated. Yeah,
it took a lot of work to put together, and it almost feels out of place because it's a
little too well done. Is the only scene they had time to do well. I can totally relate with that though.
It happens.
So, and the killer pops out of the van. So now Courtney's perhaps being stalked, but before we can see that, we cut to the sheriff arriving. We better find a multiple shooting, he says. This guy's not happy. And Radish speaks up. We've all been the victim of a harmless college prank, he says.
Two personalities never would jibe as poorly as this southern mean sheriff and this small like this genius,
supposed genius
Radish fellow.
He further explains what he witnessed and that he has the license number of the van for the sheriff. And Wildman, who's witnessing this, is like, oh man, this is not good.
Would have been a good time to like tackle Radish and actually for a reason and like carry him to like
I know
he carry him away.
Lets it happen.
But I like there's a nice touch there that at first Radish is considering not saying anything.
Yeah.
And the sheriff's like, we have phone records of everybody that calls in, so we can figure out who it was. And like he breaks down. He's like, oh, okay, it was me. Like there's no
like he's been sweating it out under the lights or something. It was 5 seconds later.
Well, the coach shows up though, and he wants to just get everything calmed down. And so he says to the sheriff, hey, what about that time you and your friends burned down a library? Come on, boys will be boys, which is a funny like.
Oh yeah.
It's.
They want you to think boys will be boys, and to be again. It's this thing in this movie where you should be on the side of these people who I don't like. And
these
I don't
people
like
who
their
burn
jokes.
down libraries and hold incredibly realistic fake terrorist attacks on campuses. It's like, come on.
That's supposed to be funny.
Everyone, like even the girls, are like kind of think it's funny what happened.
Yeah.
You know? Even Courtney does.
Yeah.
I would have thought Courtney would be above that.
But this scene goes on for a long time.
Yeah.
The sheriff and the coach, and there's just the kids are just standing there kind of watching it, and then there's reminiscing going on, and the coach starts thinking about fishing. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
How about the sheriff gives Wildman a dime for the day in the future where he's certain he'll arrest Wildman.
Yeah, they
Is
made
that
a
a
big
thing?
elaborate thing of that. It actually felt a little off where I would imagine this small town, the sheriff would like the football players.
Yeah, but he didn't like having to get up from lunch, so that's more important than his like for the football players. I don't know. But yeah, lots of good old natured ribbing between those guys. But yeah, long scene. So then we get to cut back to Courtney. She sees a figure in the trees. Oh, she's in her dorm room and she looks out and a la Michael Myers.
Yeah.
She sees the bad guy looking at her through the trees.
We can maybe
Which
point
is
out
also a la the other movie that we just saw.
He Knows You're Alone did
Yes.
the same thing. But we should maybe talk for the tiniest quick second about this killer.
I love this guy.
Because, I mean, when you see him here and like outside the van, it is just a dude who looks like he's waiting in line to buy some concert tickets or something in
Just a
1980.
guy.
He's just a guy there, and they are not just showing his feet. They are not keeping him in shadow.
We totally see him.
He's wearing like some jeans and a green jacket, and he is just around students and just walking around.
Yeah,
And
there's no
it's,
mystery. No, he's just a guy likes to kill. He just kills.
It's like the anti-Italian
Yeah.
horror movie
Yeah.
because there's no
mystery.
subtlety or
Yeah.
mystery or artful like lighting or some camera move. It's just here's a guy.
and that's
He's
good.
just killer, and it's interesting
I
because
want.
who else does this?
I don't care. I don't care the mystery of the killer or why. Who cares why? There's a killer on campus. Let's deal with the fun characters who are being killed.
Sometimes it's fun to see why, but this is also wonderful because it's the ne plus ultra of not having a why.
I would say
Very well put.
He Knows You're Alone is a good example of a why. They give you the why, but they don't dwell on it. It's like, look, this guy just doesn't like it when people get married because he lost his fiance. That was pretty concise.
Mm-hmm.
But it is refreshing to not have the backstory. I got to tell you.
And before I know we're moving away from the plot here. Last thing, I didn't think about this when we watched it the first time, but Radish keeps talking about the serial killers, right?
Yes.
And not only does he talk about serial killers who often do things for like a reason, he talks about psychopaths who are out there who just do something for no good reason.
Yeah.
Right.
And
that's true.
Is that? Do you think that they built that in on purpose?
Yes.
Yeah. He says that a couple of times. That he makes references. It's like things just happen
Things
for no
just
reason.
happen, and this is a movie with a killer who's just doing things like that. I'm pretty sure they did it on purpose, but I'm not entirely sure.
Charlie owns the paperback novelization of this movie, and if you had done your homework and read the whole thing, maybe you'd know then. You know.
Yeah, there were too many asides. I read the first 10 pages, and it was like 74% asides.
Okay.
So I stopped reading. Yeah.
All right. Now, meanwhile, in the dorm room, she's just looked out and seen the Michael Myers figure, and then the professor's mistress. Do we know her name? The blonde professor's mistress?
Could be. Is it Lisa or is
Lisa,
that?
Yeah. Okay. So Lisa comes in and explains that flirting is more important than studying. You'll never catch me studying chemistry. Not while there's a man teaching it. So then she displays her ability to get a couple of guys to carry her bags downstairs. It's just two guys conveniently walking down the hall at that moment. That was fun. Huh?
It's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun moment. The guys just jump into the room and like,
Yeah,
what can we do for you?
She's got on those late 70s shorts that girls wore back then. That kind of.
Yeah, very.
I heard someone to tell me that those were called dolphin shorts.
Ah.
But anyway.
I was not aware of that. That's, so
It's a nice little scene. It's kind of, I enjoy that.
In the same way that Courtney unexpectedly thinks it's funny that there was a terrorist raid on campus, she laughs in the same way at how Lisa's able to get the boys to do it. She's like, oh, look at that, you know? I don't quite buy it, but there's just a lot of, everyone's very happy with everything. So then Courtney goes to see Radish for some aspirin, and they have some great dialogue back and forth. She says, some people have it much easier, and he says, you mean Lisa? And she says, is it that obvious? And he says, it's only logical. You're living with a girl who has a free ride. It looks easy, but she'll pay later. There's no free brunch. Is that what he says? No free brunch? I'm pretty sure.
I think so, yeah. It's
But
quite a
just
scene.
to hear him explain it the way he does.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's you have to hear it from Radish. I don't do it justice, but she can get anything she wants. Courtney whines, and Radish says she knows how to use what she's got. But you have different qualities, and she says, I sound like a silly girl, don't I? Don't sound silly to me, Radish says to no one after she leaves. That's the best part about that. So she says, I sound like a silly girl, don't I? And leaves. Oh, and then just for the camera, you don't sound silly to me.
That doesn't make a ton of sense, but it's good.
It's like those little cappers on scenes that are just too cute, you know?
It almost takes. Sorry.
Yeah, you go for
I
it.
was saying it almost takes place. It's almost too long after she leaves. I almost forgot what he was talking about.
Yeah, and if it had been something where it didn't so much relate to what she said, or if he said like, you sound like the perfect girl for me or something, then it would be okay. But
it's like, wait, what was that? Go back to what she said. I don't know.
Okay, now in a potentially effective, scary moment, she's walking up the creepy stairway of the dorm, and as she opens, there's like a mirror on the door or something, and she opens it, and then we see the figure in the mirror, and then she looks back, and it's gone. That was almost well done. What do you say, guys?
yeah, that was
That's
nice.
pretty good.
This killer gets around campus for
He's
sure.
everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
You watch through this movie.
Yeah.
He is in every building, on every level of every floor,
He's
whenever
sprinting.
he wants.
Off camera, he is just sprinting from building to building. But
Yeah. On camera, lumbering.
So now we're back at Courtney's dorm room, and Courtney's has a book missing. Okay. But someone propped it on the closet door so that when Lisa opened it, it would fall down. And Lisa thinks that Courtney did it. After all, it's her book, which...
The killer did it.
Wait, why did the killer... What is the...
And
the killer's into pranks suddenly?
And he didn't even hide to know if his prank worked or not. He wasn't around there. If he had like seen it fall and scare her and he chuckled or something, okay. But
It's so ridiculous. Like, so... First off, why... Just because it's Courtney's book doesn't mean Courtney did it. You know, for Lisa to say that. It's like, that's dumb. And then secondly, the killer did it? That's double dumb. Why?
Yeah, there's nothing comes of that. That
Who
makes any
knows?
sense.
Wildman might have done it.
Could have
Yeah.
been Wildman.
I blame Wildman.
It's more likely it was Wildman.
So now, who's Gary's girlfriend? The dim-witted.
Janet.
Okay,
like we
so
said.
then you're right. Janet comes by, to discuss her love affair with Gary.
Mhm.
But it must be secret, or else he'll be tied to a tree by his frat brothers.
Yeah.
The only thing that usually is secret is that he gave her his pin, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So then there's the comedy of how the pin, she wants to show them the pin, and it's on the back of her sweater, which means that she had removed her top while she was with them.
This reminds me of the scene in The Room with the underwear joke, where he's
Yes.
like, "Me underwear."
Yes.
And it's like this long, elaborate story leading up to this not very funny joke.
It's like, ho, 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 your shirt must have been off when that got pinned on. Ah. And she's like, guys.
But there is a lot of good just small talk and like bonding moments, and like especially with Radish and Courtney. But this is also a little bit of a thing that some lesser movies don't have that,
Yeah.
and we want these.
Yeah, okay, well, the lesser movies waste that screen time telling about the torment of the killer and what he went through in life.
Mm-hmm.
Final Exam doesn't bother with that, so they have so much screen time just to hang out, just to spend some quality time with some enjoyable characters.
Yeah, and they're. I mean, we might not remember their names, but we remember. You remember the characters pretty well.
Oh
after.
yeah. So then Wildman and Mark come in to intimidate Radish. Okay, so what is it? What are they trying to steal? Are they trying to steal the key to the locker room? Is that even the plan, or just was it Mark just noticed it there and figured I might need this?
I think they came in first because they were mad.
Right.
Oh, because he called the sheriff.
But then I think, I mean, maybe it was part of their plan, but he saw the keys. They decided to take it so
we're here.
they could break in and steal some pills that they could sell.
I don't buy for a second that those guys couldn't get access to the gym anytime they want.
Yeah, they could totally
everywhere.
get in there.
I mean, I could be wrong, maybe because I know he's the equipment guy, but the coach loves them.
When we should go to that college and take a tour, and specifically try to find out the details of access to the locker room.
What kind of security you got in there?
Let's say a couple of athletes wanted to get in there final exam week. Would they be able to just get in, or would they have to steal a key?
I'd have to take it all back. We'd have to issue an update to this.
Oh, imagine to go pretend to be interested in being a student and take the tour, you know?
Oh, that would be.
We'd have to grab like an 18-year-old kid. Hey, kid, come on.
So where do the piano recitals take place?
Where's that? Oh, that'd be fun. Like, is this the room that Radish lived in? What?
How often does a woman get naked and drape herself in satin? You know, they might say it happens a lot.
Every exam week, at least, yeah. All right, so now Gary goes to steal the test, as is his. He's been forced to do by his frat brothers.
Yeah.
And the killer's lurking, but doesn't seem to get him, I guess. And he gets out, and the frat boys attack him when he leaves the building. Which to me seems like a poor way to safely commit a crime. If right outside the scene of the crime, everyone's waiting to like scream
Party
and
and
yell.
scream.
Like,
Yeah. They actually had some extras there, sort of, who weren't really. Some of those frat guys weren't part of
We never
our
see
core
them
group.
again.
Yeah, that's true.
And then that's when they notice that his pin is missing, so they tie him up to a tree in his underwear. Which is just what's done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think they knew about that before. That's why they were there.
Oh, that's what they were waiting for.
Yeah, maybe they were being coy.
Let's go to the spot where we've sent him on a crime and jump him.
It seems like another example of where they want you to be like, "Oh, isn't this funny college hijinks?" And this is what frats do. But where I'm just like, this guy is dying. You're killing him
Yeah,
by
I
pouring
know.
ice water
Pouring
on
ice in his
him and
underwear.
ice, and then leaving him over. It's too much.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Even when the campus security guy comes by, he's like, "Oh, you guys are so funny. I'm not gonna help
He
you."
adds to the ice. He adds more ice.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Guy's a
It's hot.
jerk.
No, he pours bourbon down.
Oh,
his
you're
pants.
right, bourbon. Okay, so then Janet comes to visit Courtney. Courtney's like playing solitaire on her bed. And Courtney says, "Can't you see I'm studying?" And Janet is so dim-witted. she doesn't realize it's a joke, and she turns to leave. I guess that's supposed to be funny, right?
Yeah.
I guess.
It seemed good when they were doing it, I guess.
So Janet expresses that she's starting to have doubts about Gary, which is also, it's like, no one's this dumb. Like, what you're starting to have, like, 20 minutes ago you were telling me about the pin. Now you're starting to have doubts? You're a child.
Yeah.
In a good way, though.
Yeah, it's kind of good melodrama.
The only thing I can think of is that they wanted a reason for her not to rush off to save him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but what a shame that they didn't think, like, they could have talked about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Anything. So anyway, now this is when we learn that the Gamma guys deal pills. Someone calls for speed. And the vibe has suddenly changed. It's like, okay, there's the hijinks and the tie-ins to the tree, but they're also like serious drug dealers, these guys. Jeez, Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, it takes a little bit of a turn when you get to the frat house. The frat house is also just Mark and Wildman running around yelling, and then the phone rings. And he said, "What do you need, tests or pills or something like that?"
Yeah.
And then,
In that scene, Wildman is out of control. Yeah. He is so wild. I fear for myself as I watch it practically. He takes that whipped cream and it's shooting out of his mouth and he's coughing and he is taking off his shirt and he sprays deodorant in his mouth and it is like they must have been like, I know your name is Wildman, but this is like certifiable. This is insane what you're doing. But it's kind of good too.
Yeah, it's getting very close to the line.
But he really,
too much,
going over. Yeah, I guess when you put deodorant in your mouth,
he's wild. So yeah, I was turned off by the drug dealing aspect of these characters. It didn't belong in this
we did
movie.
not need that at all.
I didn't even remember it the first time through.
It almost has some touches of Majorettes, when that takes a turn into the gangs and drugs and machine guns.
Majorettes changed tone, did a better job of changing tone, as I recall. But let's face it,
Well, we'll have to talk about that. But
we'll have to get to
Majorettes never comes back. It's just halfway through it becomes
a different movie.
Gang warfare.
All right, so they decide they're gonna use the key that Mark conveniently stole. He's like, well, that key I stole suddenly has a use that we can go break in to the training room and steal. No, wait. What do they want to steal? Fake pills or real pills? I can't even remember. What do they say? Like, we'll get
They want to steal whatever is there, and
Just
then they're
any
going
pill,
to tell
and then
people
just
it's
sell it.
speed.
These guys are horrible. The next scene is when we see the campus security guard pouring some booze into Gary's underwear just to pile on. The poor Gary.
And this is where Ava made the point that this is hazing stuff going on to this pledge on like the last day of school.
Yes.
Essentially, like, it doesn't make any sense.
The complete opposite of when it should be.
And he's the only pledge.
He's the only one. So Janet gets word about Gary, and she runs to save him.
Well, no, not eventually. Originally, I mean, not right away. She says, "Oh, let him stew out there for a while." It's like freezing cold, and he's been out there for almost the whole day. It feels like
it's torture. It's total torture. But before she even gets there, he gets released from the tree, thinking Janet did it. Mm-hmm. But the killer jumps from the tree. So he's able to untie him, and then the only explanation is he was up the tree the whole time, and it seems impossible that he could untie it from up there. They're just not possible.
Correct.
So there's no explanation for this. He's just everywhere at once.
They just thought it'd be cool if the killer jumps down from a tree on top of somebody or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so listeners, what happens is we see clearly the killer released him from ground level, and then instantly the killer is now up in the tree, so he can jump down and stab him.
If it were like the highest level ninja, it would be a little bit unbelievable. And this is just a lumbering, like heavy
yeah.
metal dude, anonymous killer.
So then Janet shows up to find that Gary's gone. His shoes are on the lawn. There's a figure on the top of some far-off stairs. And she goes towards them, following pieces of clothing that lead her there. And she's killed up there by the killer?
She thinks that he is like, oh, he's disrobed, like out in the, to attract me over here. Then she goes up there and he's gone. And then she walks around the corner. This is a killing that they don't show anything. She just gets like grabbed and then she's behind the wall.
So she's probably dead.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me. Meanwhile, Lisa's still waiting for her professor. She plays some piano to pass the time. Now, you think that's a recital, Tom, or what?
Yeah, she's like dressed up in her fancy dress, and she mentions before that she'd meet him after her recital, and that is the only thing that it can be. That's her recital,
makes sense.
and she's playing a song in the dark by herself, and that seems to be that's her final.
They did not have many extras, and there were some days they had more than others.
Yeah, they could have easily just said that she was going for a date and she played that to pass the time before he showed up.
Yeah, that's what I assumed it was.
Yeah.
So we cut back to her a bunch of times, but then we get to see Wildman ransacking the trainer's room for pills. He jogs into the gym. Now the clock turns on. So the killer.
Mm-hmm. Flair for the dramatic.
What a flair for the dramatic. He not only can he fly up onto trees, he turns on. He knows how to operate the scoreboard, and when he sees a victim arriving, he sets it for 2 minutes. He's like, "You'll be dead in 2 minutes."
And then he positions himself in the most perfect place for when the lights click on to light him just so.
Oh my God, he's in center court for when the lights go on. So Wildman turns on the light. We see Killer is right there. Wildman charges him, which is pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's nice.
Really unique. I mean, I should just say unique. Unique because how often? Usually it's someone.
They're always running.
It's always someone weak or someone running from the killer. You get to see the strongest guy on campus decide to attack the killer with a flying tackle,
but does he even know he's a killer? It's just like some.
That's a good point. He
guy?
just sees a guy. Yeah, he doesn't know this guy's a killer or anything.
Yeah, that's
He
cool.
just charges
That's
him.
true.
Guy in basketball court.
It's just fun to see. Yeah, just fun to see him. For us, we know, but it's cool to see him just go tackle him. I guess the killer didn't have the knife out at that point, but
turns out Wildman is no match for the killer, who he eventually strangles him in the weight room using like the weightlifting machine,
which is a 1980s subgenre, death by exercise equipment, or in an aerobic environment.
That's true. That's a good subgenre.
Upon the death of Wildman, the clock counts down to 0, and 1 point comes up on the visitors scoreboard?
Yeah, the visitors.
So the killer is keeping a tally.
So the only
he's nothing if not thorough, I mean.
So the only I read into things without any sort of evidence, but this was the one possible shred that maybe this guy is like from a rival school, or he like didn't get into this school or something.
His motivation.
Yeah.
He always wanted to have a tally up on that scoreboard.
And by golly, it's happening now. So now one of the best scenes in the history of film is happening next, when Radish shows up at Courtney's room with some Irish whiskey he's been drinking, and he goes on a lecture about psychopaths. People are killed every day for no reason at all, he says.
They're out there.
I'm not paranoid. I'm just facing unhappy facts. And then he makes a line that inspires her to say, "Why is it that you make me always make me laugh?" I don't remember what the line was, but it was not very, very funny.
Yeah, it
was something which kind of explains that or something, So when she says, "Why is it you always make me laugh?" He panics because he senses it. He's like, "Oh no, she likes me."
Yep.
And he loves her. but he doesn't know what to do. So she just finishes the word laugh. Why is it you always make me laugh? He instantly just stands up and says, I got to go do my inventory for the coach.
It's just magic.
Awesome.
Oh.
One of the top 5 things that's happened in a shock marathon, probably.
Instant laughter. Just like, oh, I can't believe I just saw that. That is so good. Wow.
And then doesn't he say, like, I might as well do it sometime? He's got some kind of, like, sassy
cliche.
way.
Well, yeah, because she's like now, like kind of like trying to. It's like, oh, that can wait till later. It's like, oh, I gotta do it sometime. It's just, I mean, it's kind of accurate for his character because he's so nervous around her, and you can tell he wouldn't be comfortable like having a conversation go in that direction. But
It's so good.
it's great.
And then before leaving, he says, I'm bored with school a real lot, just like you're bored with the people. She says, I never said that. And he says, you didn't have to.
Oh. Hey, Radish doing his normal Radish is amazing. Radish doing Radish slightly drunk, maybe even better. Because it's just it's over the top times 3 or something.
It is. You need listeners. You need to watch the whole movie, but especially this scene with Courtney and Radish.
It could even be that he isn't really drunk, but he's just holding a drink and pretending
he
to
wants
be a little
fit
drunk.
in. You're right.
Or he's just imagining that he's a little bit drunk.
Yeah.
He's only had one tiny sip.
Yeah.
Levels.
Yeah, that's true.
So then he tells her to lock the door before leaving, and then he goes like a few steps, and he goes to the next door. And she knocks on it, and she opens it,
Yeah.
which is just weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a cute little thing.
And he says that he tells her that she has a pretty face too, just like Lisa. And then he adds, lock this door too, before running off. And then talking to himself. That was stupid, kid. I can't believe you said that. And people have just died. We've just seen several characters die. And suddenly the tone of the movie shifts so much to the most sappy interaction you've ever seen.
It's great.
Yeah, pretty nice.
Thank goodness Mark now goes to the gym to see what's going on with Wildman. And he finds Wildman has been stuffed in a locker.
Upside down. The killer decided after he tallied the scoreboard, let me pick this huge, 260-pound football player up, turn him upside down, crunch him into a locker, and close this one specific locker so that someone mayhaps will open it up and see a body.
Mark doesn't react much to this body either. He's just like, oh.
Yeah, that's right.
He goes out to his car. And the light comes on in the car? What happens in the car? I was confused.
I think the killer is
Killer's
in his car and turns the lights on.
Killer knew.
It's all part of his plan. He sets up the body in there. He knows he's going to open it up, come right out the front door, and get spooked.
So he runs through. So now he's running away from the killer. He runs through a door where there's some keys hanging up conveniently that he can lock, and then the killer starts pounding on the door.
Yeah.
And then the killer somehow gets in and kills the guy.
Mark isn't even really freaking out at this point. He's just kind of going in the other
He's
direction
really cool.
slowly.
Yeah.
And then he goes into the boiler room or something, and somehow the killer has gotten ahead of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense. But thank
Stabs
God,
him.
thank God, Mark's dead. And then Radish daintily traipses to the gym to do inventory for the coach.
Mm-hmm.
He notices that the door's unlocked, and he quips, shades of Watergate. Oh, Radish.
Yes.
Shut up.
And then when he sees the mess, he has a nice line, too. Inside.
Yeah, it's happening.
Well, before that, he's like, it looks like you guys really did it this time or something.
He's like, my lot in life is I have to clean up after all the jerks who kind of hate me. And, oh, well,
Yeah.
Yeah. He's so good-natured about it.
So he finds Wildman's body, and Radish is all worked up. It's happening. It's happening. Police, call the police.
Yet again, Mark's body is in a locker, stuffed in.
So now, of course, the sheriff doesn't believe him. No, and Radish says, "No, sir, it's not a joke. This is real. I know I thought the other one was real, but this is different. There's a dead body right here. Look, there's a guy who is dead, and we could all be in danger. Fine, I'll take charge myself then."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that
Radish
kicks
time.
into high gear. Yeah, it is like Rambo tying the bandana and getting the crossbow out.
He runs to save Courtney. Lisa continues to play the piano, waiting for a professor to show up. And then we check in with her, just with a real quick scene, just so everyone knows she's still at it.
Yeah.
Then Radish runs daintily to Courtney's room to warn her. Killer breaks through the door, grabs him.
That was a cool shot.
Yeah,
I got thought for a second. Someone really, I mean, I guess the door was rigged, but actor on the other side of a solid wood door gets close to the thing. Guy punches through, grabs his head, and yanks it toward the broken wood.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
That was a good shot.
Very impressive. So Courtney was at the vending machines when this happened. She comes back and finds Radish dead in the door. I can't believe they killed Radish.
Yeah, he should have lived.
I know. What a shame.
Maybe get beaten up and like be wounded and be tended to by the EMTs, and then he could have had one last nice line where he's like, "We did it, girl."
Yeah,
I know, something
I know.
like.
How about Courtney thinks it's a joke? She thinks that Radish has put a hole in her door, like a big hole in her door, and is lying there bloody. Like, oh, Radish. But I guess in a world where there are terroristic attacks on campus for pranks, why not?
And she does know that he's obsessed with these macabre things.
It's funny from her point of view that
He hasn't done anything like that in the whole rest of the movie, but
That's true.
So she runs upon realizing that it's actually he's actually dead. Then the killer shows up for Lisa.
Wait, there's a part where she runs outside to the security guard in his truck.
Courtney sees security guard in the truck, but he's passed out or dead. Which one is it?
I don't know.
He's dead.
How do you know he's dead?
He's dead. You can tell.
You can tell.
But they've gone so far out of the way to show his drinking.
Yeah, I thought he could have been passed out, but
I
mean,
was pretty sure he was dead.
He was real. I mean, she was pounding on that window.
Yeah,
It's up in the air.
We'll have to go.
Maybe if we want to
go
be
the tape.
positive, we can imagine he's still there working the campus, and he made it through.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe his drinking saved him.
Maybe.
Lisa. Then we get cut to Lisa, who's preparing for the professor now. So she's in the art studio where like the model would pose. Is that the idea?
Yep. Texture.
With like lacy curtains or something.
I just wrote satin on satin because I'm pretty sure she wraps herself in satin and then lies down on satin.
And then the professor never shows up for their last
I know.
for his last chance at
very
firm flesh.
interesting touch. He just disappears.
That redheaded wife of his kept him home somehow.
Yeah.
You know, she had a list of chores.
It's very interesting. And you know what else is a nice little touch is in Courtney's room, there's a framed picture of him
Yeah, that's awesome.
on the dresser.
That-
so
that is
it's
blatant.
very interesting.
It's what's quite likely is the actor couldn't show up for.
Yeah.
Like, well, I guess the professor never shows for this rendezvous. Whatever.
Well, it's interesting though, like from watching these movies, you would think it would be maybe it's the professor was the killer, but that there's never any indication that that's
because
an option.
we see the killer from like minute one, and we see that it's someone we've never seen before.
I love the look of these scenes. It's in keeping with sort of the Halloween 2 feel where you just don't turn on any lights inside any building.
And there's no people around. Yeah.
Yeah, the only light will come in from a window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when she's at her piano, it's super, super dark, but and all the hallways of everywhere are dark. The boiler room. I like that look of this era of movies.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's beautiful. So Lisa gets stabbed by the killer. Courtney goes into the art building to find Lisa because she's like, oh, God, I got to warn Lisa and Dr. Reynolds while they're having their affair that there's a killer. But she only finds the killer she runs to the cafeteria, and we're back to the dumbwaiter or the conveyor belt, whatever you want to call it. But the killer, who's everywhere, he lowers himself on the dumbwaiter, huh?
Yeah, that I've seen more believable scenes.
Yeah.
And this is a near flawless movie, but he's a huge guy, and
How does he fit
I
in there?
think
Yeah.
with one or two camera angles they kind of gloss over. You see his feet
Yeah.
on the conveyor belt, but the actual floor, like level conveyance is a little bit.
Yeah, it's confusing, and that the thing is made to bring down like lunch trays,
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not going to be like 6 feet in between each lunch tray coming down.
So he gets out of there and chases her into the kitchen area, and then she knocks him on the head and locks him in a freezer. But then he just pops out of the other freezer door. So that was a short-lived reprieve.
It's a lot of that in this movie, like rooms with multiple exits that
Yeah.
are right next to each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Courtney's dorm room.
And this
Yeah.
is a lengthy chase scene going on here, across like multiple buildings, and just keeps going on.
Yeah, I got a little bored with it. Then the coach shows up and is swiftly killed.
Well,
Help me out. That's
Okay,
all I
so-
have in my notes. I
Go
was
for it, Tom.
losing interest.
Courtney runs up to the top of that steeple thing.
Yeah, well, first they had established that he was going to go fishing early in the morning. So we can assume it's like 4 or 5 a.m. by this point,
Okay.
Okay.
as he was going to go fishing with the guard, right, who was
Security.
drunk.
Okay.
So that's why he's there. So that's at least makes some sense.
Okay.
Mhm.
But then she's at the top of the tower screaming. She like screams out something, and he grabs his bow and arrow because he's a bow hunter.
Yeah.
So that's a nice
That's
little
an
touches
interesting-
there.
Wrinkle there, yeah. You don't usually see that.
And,
And
they
he-
followed
he-
through. They followed through on
he-
something that they developed early in the movie.
Yeah, they followed through, and he believed her right away too. He wasn't just like, oh, another prank with them kids. He's like, I'm grabbing my
Yeah.
crossbow, and he goes right in.
Yeah.
The killer chases Courtney up the steps. The steps where she was in the start of the movie. What is this building? It seems very run down. Those steps. It seems like students wouldn't be allowed to be there.
Well, there was a small note earlier in the thing about a girl who killed herself in that
Oh,
place,
really?
and that there's part of it where there's like no railing, and I think the assumption is that's where that happened.
We need
Ah,
to make
that ties
when,
into the story.
when we
a
go
little
to get the
Yeah.
tour of the college. We got to make sure we see that.
bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
just don't go in because the wood is all rotten in there.
It's
Yeah.
very rotten. Yeah.
But they talk about that building very briefly at the beginning.
Wow.
She knocks him over the head and he falls. Oh, excuse me. She walks by him. He grabs her, and she finishes.
Wait. Real quick. Back up at the top of the landing.
Yeah.
The coach fires a crossbow at him. He grabs it out of midair.
Okay.
This is something you would see in a ninja movie. Sorry to bring that up, ninjas again, but
It's
that's
fine.
not something that happens in normal life.
He's a ninja.
He grabs the arrow out of the air. The coach is like, "You don't grab my arrow." He runs up the stairs. Guy takes the arrow, stabs the coach with his own arrow. Then Courtney is like freaking out because she realizes nothing's gonna save her now.
Yeah.
She's kind of turned in. I was right now. It's like Jamie Lee Curtis here a little bit. She's like, "Please no," and
Yeah.
cowering away. Luckily, the killer's foot falls through some wood.
Okay.
Then she starts hitting him with a 2x4. Then I think he would prefer to not be hit with a 2x4. So he decides to use his hands to go hand over hand out over a perilous drop. And then I think he just can't hold on anymore
Okay.
Then she starts like
And she
hitting at his
continues
hands, kind
to
of.
hit him.
Yeah.
And then he falls a good like 6-7 stories or something.
I was just ready for it to end at that point.
So
clearly.
then down there at the bottom, of course, you get what you just mentioned. One last jump scare. There's a knife
I'm glad
on
they
the
didn't
ground.
dwell on the jump scare though. They're like, all right, he's alive, and boom, she kills him, and it's over.
Yeah.
And when I say it's over, I mean the credits start rolling, and we just see her sitting on the steps, crying.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty dark. It's a pretty dark end.
Yeah, and
nothing's
she doesn't. She
been
she
resolved?
stabs him a lot. It's like she doesn't leave any.
There's no doubt.
Yeah. And now there's literally nobody left alive on this campus except for her, right?
Yeah.
Everyone else we met, except for possibly the security guard,
Yeah.
And that's up for debate. Yeah.
Maybe a few of the frat guys.
Um,
But the way that the credits roll so quickly here too, usually in these kind of movies at the very end you get EMTs pulling up. Someone comes out with a blanket. If Radish had lived, he would have been wheeled out in a little stretcher and been like, "We did it, kid," and give her the thumbs up.
It's very bleak.
Yeah, or the sun would be rising.
Yeah.
This is just, it's still night. She's crumbled on the steps, distraught. Movie over.
A downer ending for a movie that has so many uplifting, moments with Radish and Courtney and stuff. Wow, what so many shifts in tone. My goodness, but that's what we love. That's what we want. That's what I want. So let's see. Who wants to give us a review first?
Well, wait for Shock Memories. Can I go to that?
Go nuts.
My basic review is just what we've been saying. It's awesome. Looks great. I really like the score. Nice synth music. It's professional enough to be nice and watchable, but not so glossy that it's like gross. And
not so glossy it's gross should be on the Blu-ray.
When we talk about it all the time. Once you get more towards the late 80s, you get into like your cheerleader camp era. Yeah, it looks a little sleazy. This looks very organic and nice, but the characters are awesome. So Shock Memories is Radish, amazing.
Oh, we made a T-shirt of Radish.
Yeah,
running away to do inventory.
Yep, Radish, Wildman. I did not forget his antics, but I especially didn't forget his name.
Yeah.
And also the killer being so unmotivated, potentially, and unexplained, plain looking, in plain view.
Yeah.
Having no significant special weapon or anything really about him. He's just there, and he's everywhere, and anytime he might get you.
He is as vague as the reference to the big city,
Yeah.
It's just wonderfully vague.
Right.
I'll tell I didn't remember how much I hated the frat guy, even though Wildman was memorable. All those frat scenes annoyed me, and I hated Mark and the whole selling drugs aspect. I wanted more Radish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they could have made the frat guys a lot less
annoying,
serious.
Yeah.
It's like the terrorist raid, the selling drugs, like even and the Gary hazing thing.
Yeah, they're
like it was all really
Gary.
really mean.
Awful.
And it didn't feel like that fit in with the tone of a lot of the rest of it, which was kind of playful.
Yeah.
Even like Lisa in the affair with her teacher was kind of playful, And it's kinda, like,
a lot of really overwritten dialogue between them.
Yeah, it just made it very uneven and not in a very good way.
Right.
So for all the Radish, it's got a great vibe. It's one of our all-time classics. I gotta be honest, I liked it 10% less than I remembered it. This time through watching it, I was a little let down, but I think it's because it's, for however many years I've been glorifying this movie, so it's inevitable.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I mean, I still enjoyed watching it. I was in it to the end. There's some movies when you rewatch them, when you're watching it by yourself, you lose some of the spark to keep going, and there's not as much to talk about. But this was still fun for me from start to finish.
It moves.
It really moves good. Move. And what I always try to, the second or third time through, I really try to focus on the small details to see if there's something we missed. Because sometimes we miss some of the...
Oh, we miss a lot. I miss tons.
Yeah, and some of the motivations or some of the backstory. But this, I really tried to pay attention closely, and there is... there's nothing else there. Like, there's nothing there that could have been explaining this killer.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. Highly recommended. It's one of the few movies I bought a DVD of it just so I could listen to the commentary. So, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Final Exam. And the Radish moments, what a character. This guy, all-time legendary character. Congratulations to Joel S. Rice on the performance. And Wow.
It's just such a natural movie. That's why
It's very relaxed. Just kind of, you're just
let's
spending
make a
time
horror
with some
movie.
characters.
Yeah, let's make a horror movie. You know, let's not overthink it too much. Here's
No
these
way.
characters. Here's this killer, and
Yeah.
you know, we got this campus, and
And let's just have ourselves a good time.
yeah,
All right. So
road trip.
yeah,
Isothermal.
Isothermal,
Community
we're going.
College, North Carolina.
Isothermal Community College is where they filmed it. So we need a prospective college student
Mm-hmm.
who we can say is our niece or nephew, right?
Well, we have to invent another. We have to be like.
How about we each have we need 3 seniors in high school, each of us, to play our niece or nephew.
Well, yeah.
We could just enroll ourselves and
I guess.
pretend prospective students.
I want to take the tour though. I totally need to take this
we
tour.
We can take
Yeah.
the tour by ourselves.
It's okay. We don't need a cover.
Oh, we can say we're interested.
All right, all you college, high school kids who were about to volunteer, we don't need you anymore.
You can come too if you want.
You can meet us there. We'll let you know when we're going. But
There might be a frat on Isothermal Community College campus right now, and they'll like just invite us to a party. And
well, there's raids go on daily. You know, the terrorist attacks in this place. What a film. So check out Final Exam. Really, really amazing. Let us know what you think. Contact us via ShockMarathons.com. And revel in this moment where all 3 of us, the Shock Marathons warriors, are all in the same room together discussing a movie, because it's usually over Skype, and that's great, of course. But this is a moment, guys. We did it.
Yes, indeed.
mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Later.
For Tom and Charlie, this is Farley saying good night.